What once was modeling it from scratch, making the textures for the model, and potentially all the other parts that come with 3D design, streamlined to mostly of the process being done by AI, it raises the question, what exactly are you doing? The barrier to entry just went from this to this to this as AI gets better and better and better. Your tutorials suddenly become kind of irrelevant because the skill you spent so long mastering becomes less and less a part of the process. AI is confining the amount of work the individual does and lowering the talent needed and streamlining the process. The bubble of what the individual is actually doing is not big enough to account for many people, nor is it valuable enough to charge money for someone doing that work. So when you say stuff like adapt or die, are you really on the side of the artist? The goal here is clearly to keep humans a part of art. So actively throwing up your hands and saying, AI is here to stay, let it streamline you, work with it as a tool for the artist, you are essentially letting an automatic process remove you from the thing you love for the increased profits of corporations. Where is the adaptation in that? You are not adapting if you're not a part of it. AI is not a tool for the artist, AI is a tool for the corporations to eliminate the artist. Oh my god, the lighting is going to change so much, I already know. It's going to get blinding. So this video is not an attack on Andrew Price, nor is the tweet really even that new. So he may have changed his opinions, but he seems to be pretty pro-AI. We're going to be using his tweet as a jumping off point of discussion around the topic of AI art. So, and there is also a lot of AI defending rebuttals in this too, so that's fun to talk about as well. So anyway, here is the actual tweet. Alright, before I read this tweet, I just want to say that I'll be jumping back and forth between Andrew Price's tweet or other people's tweets and my own words. And to kind of like help differentiate which words are actually mine and which words are other people, I'm going to be using an audio cue. So if the words are coming from me, the audio cue will switch to this. And if the words are a tweet that I'm reading out or some kind of source that I'm reading out, the words will be indicated by this sound. Also, it's been a little bit since I actually recorded this video. It's probably been about 3 months. So a lot has happened since then. Like we've gotten Sora AI that it's hard to keep up with like everything that's going on with AI. I don't think this necessarily, a lot of the new stuff that's happened is decredits what I say in the video. I have a lot to say. I think maybe some stuff will come off as like, yeah, obviously. Like, I think more and more people are opening their eyes to the dangers of AI and like saying something like AI could be dangerous. I think a lot of people are past that point and a lot of people agree. So maybe some things in the video might seem a bit like, yeah, obviously. But I think a lot of things are pretty good revelations that I've had, and we're going to be bouncing off of Andrew Price's tweet specifically because his tweet is like a nice bundled up package of rebuttals, basically pro AI rebuttals. Like AI is actually good because of this, and you know what, it's actually good because of this, and if you don't like it, you know, you're gonna be left behind, blah blah blah. So yeah, I think enjoy the video because I have a lot to say that I think is pretty good. Yeah, so let's just get into reading this tweet. I can understand being against it on ethical grounds, but Pixar have shown that it can be used ethically by training it exclusively on your own work. So if the ethical problem will be solved with time, why is so much energy being directed at fighting it? Does anyone seriously think we can return to the days of manual output only? The most truthful statement I've heard is unfortunately the harshest, adapt or die, and in the coming years I think we'll unfortunately see many artists' careers die by choice. Corridor has used it to produce 2 anime shorts. Traditional artist Edward Denton uses it to generate better reference, Yang Zhenshin for rendering sketches. As ethical AI models are deployed into studios worldwide, these artists will be ready, so when will the art community put down their pitchforks and stop shaming each other for learning a new skill that will improve their chances of employment? So I have a lot to say about everything. It's going to be dissecting it, and yes, enjoy the video. So Andrew Price, if you don't know, is a YouTuber and an artist, and he made the like classic Blender tutorial on YouTube, the Blender donut tutorial, as well as a bunch of other Blender videos. He's called Blender Guru on YouTube. Anyway, so he made a tweet that defended AI art in certain aspects, and I just want to provide my counter thoughts because I think some of what he said is wrong, in my opinion. To unpack the first paragraph, I can understand being against it on ethical grounds, but Pixar has shown that it can be used ethically by training it exclusively on your own work. So if the ethical problem will be solved with time, why is so much energy being directed at fighting it? Does anyone seriously think we can return to the days of manual input only? This is a fair argument, and it makes sense. Like, we are seeing a lot of ethical AIs coming out, but a lot of these ethical AIs really only exist because of the backlash towards the, ethics behind AI generated, models. So I think that it's a bit weird to why is so much effort being put into fight it? A lot of the reason it even exists ethically is because of the backlash. If we didn't fight at all, we would be letting companies like Stability AI just freely get away with gathering all private information and copyrighted works to train a machine learning model under research and then turn around and use it again for massive commercial gain, which is what has happened. If people weren't upset about that, companies would just use their data set they created and the machine learning program from Stability AI, because it is trained on billions of images, it's going to be more effective. So yeah, it's good we are fighting, and it's the entire reason why ethical AIs are being made. But the thing is, even ethical AIs still have a bunch of problems that come with it. Like, it's not a perfect bow tie scenario, like we're all good now, ethical AIs exist. No, there is a lot of problems that come with ethical AIs, so let's get into it. Yeah, we'll use Pixar as an example because he used Pixar in his tweet. So Pixar have made an AI that's trained only on the source material they own and have the rights to. First of all, this AI machine probably won't be anywhere near as good as Stable Diffusion's model, because Stable Diffusion is trained on billions of images and data versus Pixar, where even if you had every single frame from a movie, it won't be anywhere near as powerful as Stable Diffusion. So that raises the question, what is kind of stopping them from just using Stable Diffusion's model and then kind of curating the AI to work with what they've kind of put in, prioritize this, but you use all the other data as well, you know what I mean? Because there's no necessarily any way to prove that they haven't done that, or that they have done that. What I mean is using Stability AI's model anyway, and then just kind of curating it to the work that they've put in, the Pixar stuff that they own. So it looks like they've, it doesn't really matter anyway what it looks like or what it actually is. I'll talk about the problems. Really, it doesn't make a difference. We'll talk about it in a sec. It doesn't really make a difference. So yeah, like I said, it's completely realistic possibility that they could just use the Stability Diffusion model and no one would really know if it's being curated on their work. But that's more would they, won't they, could they kind of conspiracy theory. So let's run forward with the idea that it's 100% owned, 100% they own the data in the data set to train the AI. It's totally ethical. Well, is it? Because let's say they use this AI model with the data they own, and it streamlines the process so much that they just start laying off staff to cut costs. That's a natural part of AI, is the laying off of staff. Now you only need a couple illustrators and a few creative directors, really. So the massive staff at Pixar could be cut down with good AI, and I think we can all agree that AI has gotten to the point where it is good enough to replace artists. If you're saying... Pixar is doing that now. I'll throw up some examples of AI generated Pixar, Disney stuff. They are doing it, so... And staff is getting laid off, in a lot of companies. I'll throw up some examples of that as well. It's not a theory, we're in the process of it slowly happening. So the problem isn't necessarily that a ton of artists and creative people in all industries will lose their jobs. That comes with any technological advancement. Even though it's kind of shitty that it profits off previous artists from the company's work without much compensation to train the AI to reproduce talented artists' work without their involvement in the name of profits, we will let that slide because AI is here to stay. Whatever, tough luck, I guess, is the attitude people are adopting. But the problem arises when an already unstable industry, that being the creative industry, we saw that with the writers' strike, loses a ton of opportunities and work, leaving a large percentage of artists out of work. So now we have an overabundance of creative work with a machine that does it for free. The value of doing creative work will just plummet. So why would anyone enter that industry? So why would any up-and-coming artists show off their creative mind and talent if there is not a financially sustainable option ahead of them? Because like I said, the hyper-competitive market of people already in the creative field it just makes it incredibly more difficult with AI, just making it like you're competing with AI. So with no new creative minds and potentials, these AIs won't have new work to generate from. We're going to see the recycling of the same ideas, the same visual mediums, and that is the problem. Like among a lot of other problems, but that's just the one I'm focusing on right now. So that is why we should keep fighting, because what we are fighting for is to keep human artists a part of the creative process and actually support their livelihoods and ability to work at a creative job as a human being. So now I'm just going to summarize what I've just said as like a reminder. Ethical AIs exist in the first place because of us fighting. Our little victory with the writer's strike, preventing AI from entering the writer's room, is proof that fighting and resistance in itself works to some degree. Even companies claiming they use ethical AIs could easily get away with just using other models, but curate them to looking like it's just trained off their own work. Even quote-unquote ethical AI models still bring a myriad of problems, including not compensating the history of artists' talent and effort used to train the model, including current staff. If AI can do it faster and cheaper, we will see a big staff cut, which will make the already unstable industry even more fickle and unstable. And limiting the amount of new creative minds and talent from revolutionizing anything, we will see a recycling of ideas and styles. So, to continue. Does anyone think we can truly return to the days of manual output only? So obviously this is the classic argument of like, AI is here to stay, so what's the point in resisting? Do we really think we can return to the days of manual output only? It's funny because we really had no issues realistically in the past of everything being made by humans and handmade. Like everything we've achieved into this point, we've done with humans and hands. So this argument of like, can we really return to the days of output only? It's only been a year of AI being a thing. Like literally up until this point, we have done everything handmade, or, you know, make your arguments of the tiny little aspects that were streamlined before, but you get what I mean. Everything that AI is doing currently was achievable comfortably before using human talent and work. So comfortably, in fact, that it is the only way it has been done for the entirety of human existence up until this point. The only thing was like, God forbid we pay these people who are contributing their work and talent. Like streamlining the process, all it's doing is removing the human element and talent out of it, so that massive mega corporations can cut costs from removing staff. That's really all it's doing. There is another argument that could be made, however, in that now with AI, the individual gets a lot of power, because with AI being able to create anything they want, they don't need the years of talent and experience to learn how to be good at something, or need any money to hire people to help them out. Like that's quite a big point. So I want to make that an entire video of itself, so I'm going to leave that for now. I suppose like if I had to sum up, it does deserve its own video for sure, but like if I was to say like a counter argument to that, it'd be like, if everyone has the power to make anything without any talent or work or barrier to entry, we're going to see a massive oversaturation of just stuff, and no one will really be able to be discovered in a meaningful way. Also, it drowns out artists who did kind of contribute a lot of talent and dedication to the art and the piece that they really wanted to show off to the world. Like if you want to make a game, surely everyone would want to make a game. Like if they had the ability to make it instantly, they would make a game. Like a lot of people would, but not everyone would dedicate the time and dedication, blah, blah, blah. It needs the resources, the help, to actually make it a reality. But if everything becomes streamlined, I'm talking a little bit in the future here where all the aspects of game design are streamlined, then if everyone's able to make a game, you're just going to see a lot of shite drowning out the really artistic visions, if that makes sense. And that kind of sounds like, oh, not everyone should be able to make something because it might be shit. But like, it's kind of true to an aspect. If you're going to dedicate so much time to actually making something, it's probably going to be a little bit more artistically inclined, I guess. I don't know if that sounds snobbish, but like, yeah, like I said, I want to make an entire video about that. I guess just to sum up another point, it's not gonna, if everyone has the ability, it's gonna be just drowned out in a sea of oversaturation. Like realistically, it's just gonna be, don't try and make a comic with AI, because who is gonna care? It's just one of the thousands and thousands of generated schlup, you know? So So to continue, I'm not even saying that we should boycott AI and only use human talent. AI is already here is a valid argument because AI is already here. That's the reality of it. AI will streamline at least some part of the process AI has influence over, which is basically everything that can be displayed on a screen, like anything. Like if it at any point touches a screen, it will be able to be streamlined by AI in some aspects. Videography is done manually in the real world, but rapidly that is being able to be streamlined with AI video. Music is real life too, you gotta actually compose it. But the data is digital, you edit digitally and compose it digitally, so it can be done by AI, and we're seeing AI music now. So like my point there is, it is inevitable that the creative process of many different forms will have AI influence. It's about taking a stance and drawing a line so that humans can still be a part of it at all. Hence why fighting and resistance is important, because if you have corporate heads in the driver's seat, they aren't going to stop by to pick up hitchhiking artists along the way. They are going straight to Moneyville. That is a really dumb analogy, I'm sorry. But in that analogy, it'd be a self-driving car, right? That's why it can't pick up the artist, because it's going straight to the destination. I didn't have to expand on it. So to sum up, do we think we can return to the days of manual input only? No, but considering we are trying to keep artists in art and human artists have made art throughout history anyway, it doesn't hurt to want to keep fighting to keep humans a part of the creation of creative media. He then goes on to say, the most truthful statement I've heard is unfortunately the harshest, adapt or die. And I think we'll unfortunately see many artists' careers die by choice. To unpack this, I feel like we already kind of discussed this. Letting AI run free and letting the corporations cut off as many human artists as they want to cut costs is not exactly the best thing for the creative industry. In this instance, there isn't really an adapt or die. Whether you like it or not, you are competing with AI. You're not working with AI. Maybe initially, yeah, but when AI can do everything you can do, what exactly are you doing? How valuable does your work become? Maybe being excited about the potential and prospects of AI and utilizing it in your work is harmful not only to the people who are opting completely against it, but also to you who thinks being a manipulator of AI is going to be a valuable skill. This topic as well deserves to be its own video, in that like how AI is being used currently in artists' workflow productively, how much AI is devaluing creative talent, and will AI truly be able to streamline the entire process? And will we still most certainly need artists with those skills? Like, it's so nuanced and there's so many things to discuss just off that one point, adapt or die. It is not that simple, and in fact, adapting could also result in your death. Us artists should be critical of all this and work together to be in the best interest of art itself and human artists. Like, there's nothing necessarily wrong or immoral about using AI in your work, because it's so unknown as of yet, the general consensus and stances and the ethics of how it affects the industries. So in a way, he's right. To some degree, if you completely cut yourself off from AI, you may fall behind to something that ultimately helps artists more than hurts them. We may see a future of like 3D modelers using AI to texture models. Okay, sucks to be a texture modeler, but oh well. But then AI gets really damn good at making models too. So the 3D modeler also uses AIs to sculpt the 3D models, but then they go in and adjust it and fix the details to make it better. Okay, so what once was modeling it from scratch, making the textures for the model, and potentially all the other parts that come with 3D design, streamlined to mostly of the process being done by AI, it raises the question, what exactly are you doing? First of all, the fun of it is now taken out of it. But yeah, like, you're not doing anything of that much value, really. The barrier to entry just went from this to this to this as AI gets better and better and better. Your tutorials suddenly become kind of irrelevant because the skill you spent so long mastering becomes less and less a part of the process. AI is confining the amount of work the individual does and lowering the talent needed and streamlining the process. The bubble of what the individual is actually doing is not big enough to account for many people, nor is it valuable enough to charge money for someone doing that work. You see what I mean? So when you say stuff like adapt or die, are you really on the side of the artist? The goal here is clearly to keep humans a part of art. So actively throwing up your hands and saying AI is here to stay, let it streamline you, work with it as a tool for the artist, you are essentially letting an automatic process remove you from the thing you love for the increased profits of corporations. Where is the adaptation in that? You are not adapting if you're not a part of it. AI is not a tool for the artist, AI is a tool for the corporations to eliminate the artist. Alright, we're back. It's the next day, we're just going to continue. Here we go. He then goes on to say, so when will the art community put down their pitchforks and stop shaming each other for learning a new skill that will improve their chances of employment? So that's what he said. So what I've said earlier I think would cover this, but yeah, basically artists should be critical and concerned about something that's removing them from the process. Don't really see how advocating for something that is slowly removing you is improving your chances of employment. He does bring up an interesting point, I will admit, of a few examples of artists using AI as for different uses, seemingly as a tool. Again, like with AI being so diverse as it stands, of course, yeah, it's going to be used for many uses. That doesn't mean the profound ripple effect of damage it will do won't still exist. With any major change, there are double-edged swords. I don't want to start repeating myself, so I want to reference a few other people's opinions when it comes to this point. So there's a reply thread by Nicholas Cole on Twitter replying to this tweet Andrew Price has made. So I'll just read it out right now. Reducing thousands of years of skill, tradition, culture, and craft into manual output is such a head-empty take. There is no forward or back. There is craft created by skilled artists making millions of minute decisions with every line they draw, and there is a plagiarism extruder. You can make it yourself, bespoke, thoughtful, full of fragilities and idiosyncrasies of human expression, or you can steal it, chop it, and screw it, collage it, and spit out an averaged slurry. Your future sucks. And he then goes on to say, forward not back, adapt or die. This fantastical tech bro boosterism drives us all off a cliff while they profit. It's the same rhetoric crypto used to pump the value of empty tokens full of hype and air. How long are we going to keep falling for the idea of inevitable innovation? Uber's future of taxis is just taxis without regulations, but now tech bros profit. Airbnb is shitty hotels with obligations and tech bros profit. Streaming is just cable with apps, and you get the picture. And what else does he say? They are all pump and dumps aimed to dazzle us with the smell of tech futurism while burrowing into a temporarily unregulated loophole before everyone starts to catch on. The apps are just jangling keys that seem neat until you realize what they've dismantled in the background. He makes some good points. I do think, however, it's a bit more nuanced than a tech bro scam like NFTs or crypto. So he's saying something along the lines of the adapt or die narrative is strange because not every change throughout history in the name of futurism has been a positive one. He then lists stuff like Uber, Airbnbs, and streaming and how they too have negatives and aren't this perfect new addition to the future. I think what he's saying is right in some sense, but I do still think he's boiled AI down to a smaller issue than it actually is. Because it's not a pump and dump, it's not NFTs. I don't think we can even definitively say what it is or the scale into which it will impact everything, or the hidden motives and agendas behind it. I'm tempted to say it was purely made to enhance the profits and outputs of companies, but you can't deny the research capabilities of AI. He actually does go on to list a few things he believes AI should be doing. And this honestly is such an interesting point of discussion, it also deserves its own video, but I want to at least talk about it for a bit in this video. So he goes on to mention that he thinks AI should not be related with art, but it should replace technical drudgery, forecast business models, automate CEO and executive suit roles, complex space math, map traffic and design better infrastructure, minimize, maximize carbon waste policies at a complex systemic level, create more robust and intelligent search engines, anything but art. I think this has to be its own video because we've drawn an interesting line here. We are willingly letting AI replace certain jobs and skill sets, a very specific set of them. Replacing technical drudgery is vague because sometimes the technical drudgery is actually the thing the individual enjoys doing. Like to one person, texturing models is the best part and therapeutic, and skills that takes a lot of talent, therefore they are compensated for that talent, but to others it's just technical drudgery in the way of the output that slows down the process. Automating CEO and executive suit roles seems punching up for the sake of punching up, in my opinion. I don't really see how they would want to automate themselves. And if they do, they are at the top anyway, so they'll just be reducing their own work and benefiting themselves. Map traffic and better design infrastructure is interesting. I wonder if they mean like real-time traffic management. So like there's AI systems getting data from satellites, and if everyone in the future is using kind of self-driving cars or Google Maps, it purposely puts people on different routes to prevent traffic buildups from happening in certain areas before it happens. Complex space math, I agree as well, like that maths and research and simulations to better understand things using AI learning models will help better research, like in medicine and like understanding things. That's like one area where AI can definitely shine in benefiting humans. And that's no different from what it has been doing for the past couple decades with like simulations and stuff. Anything but art, I think, is also slightly dystopian because AI, I believe, will be able to be in the process of or automate any digital skill, which is another point of discussion that in a way, if AI was to replace everything, art would actually make some of the most sense to remain human. Like if you think about data analysts, would you care if all those jobs suddenly got automated by AI? Whereas art has an emotional attachment to it. We want to see humans' creations that represent the human creative mind and experience of life, and the individuals who worked on its worldview and talents culminate together into the media we consume. I don't think that people have that attachment and appreciation to jobs that just kind of need to be done, like data analysts. But like those jobs still have people there that are getting screwed over and automated out of a valuable skill to provide themselves for. But then why not use these new AI systems if it does do the job faster and more effective than human labor? So companies, of course, will lay off staff to enhance profits and outputs. I saw this video once, I wasn't able to find it, but it was basically two people talking, and they were talking about replacing delivery drivers and truck drivers in the USA with self-driving autonomous cars and how it would be cheaper. And he asked the other guy if it was a good idea. And he said, oh, no way. Could you imagine the amount of people it would put out of a job? This would be terrible for the economy or whatever. Like, but that raises an interesting point because that is on the side of the best interest of humanity. Purposely not doing something more cost effective and more efficient purely for the benefit of humans having stable jobs. Is that a direction we should be going in? Artificially preserving human jobs so people can have jobs, even if it's less efficient and more costly. I'm not going to pretend I know much about economics or capitalism. This channel is just a discussion channel, just raising questions, and I want to hear your thoughts in the comments. So I'm not an expert by any means, and I don't claim to be. But it would kind of make sense to artificially preserve these jobs for people, because then those people have income to then purchase or consume products/services that are funding this whole thing in the first place. Because if humans are put out of work, and work gets streamlined and automated with AI, then people won't have the freedom to actually consume anything that's being produced. And there will be such an overabundance of stuff and media and whatever that it's all just going to get lost in the sea of each other. I want to also quickly touch on a video by Elliot is a Cool Guy, which is a channel I love. This video is basically just a stream of thought on big graphic designer names on YouTube making a bunch of AI videos and embracing the future. And I really like Elliot's reaction to it. There's so many things he says in this video that resonate with me, so I want to play a few of the clips.
Like, how can you think that copying something from a trained bot is okay, but copying stuff just from online isn't? Like, I don't get it. I'm so confused, guys. I'm so confused. And then like later in the video, he talks about like getting like a really original, like unique piece of stock image and then generates a sphere with like an orange tint to it. Like, what? And then he finishes the poster and you're kind of looking at it and you go like, what is where did AI really help you with this? Like,
I love this clip. It's highlighting that we are essentially automating a process that's removing us, but it's not actually really adding that much. All it's really doing is saving time. I've said it before, so I'll be repeating myself if I comment on what I think about that again, but I really want to open up discussions for these points that are being proposed in this video.
At the very end, he says,
so instead of sketching, maybe the future is all about prompting.
And that just sounds like the saddest life I could ever live as a graphic designer. I don't even sketch out my ideas or anything, but like, I find a lot of joy looking at designers that I admire and scrolling through their pages and looking at their work and finding ways that what they do could improve my own stuff. Because I know that it came from a place of love, you know? Like the designers that I look at, their passion is it's so obvious in their work. And God, I can only hope that my passion can come through in my work as much as it does for them, right? And that's the humanity behind it. That's why I love it so much. Yeah, it's like this form of self-expression. That's what makes it original to me. It's not like the actual design, the technical elements or anything like that. It's like the feeling behind it and the joy that they had creating it, and the fact that you can just tell that they love doing what they do. And the prompting stuff just takes all of that and throws it out the window. It becomes a job then. It really does. It becomes like this job, and it just feels like we hate it. It's like, God, graphic design is the worst job in the world. AI is going to make it easier for me. It's like, no one's forcing you to be a graphic designer. You don't have to be one.
I think this might be my favorite part in the whole video. AI removing the work is removing the fun out of it. He's right, it makes it a job. The creative process and the problem solving and the detailed work, that is the fun bit. Why are we running with the narrative that it's boring manual output? That wouldn't really hold up in a court of law, would it? Hey guys, can you cancel AI so we can still have fun making art? Unfortunately, we are losing the creative process part of art. We are entering an age in history where the process of art being made is being streamlined into almost nothing. I can't believe more people aren't talking about this. This is the worst thing that has happened to artists in like history. An interesting thing is, you know, we could go all dystopian and nihilistic and, you know, art is dead, AI is cheaper and more efficient, but I think we'll actually see a rise in a lot more art hobbyists. People making art for themselves and not trying to gain commercial gain out of their art. A lot more smaller independent artists supporting each other and real life artists being created in the sense of like people doing more arts and crafts, people doing more real life tactile art versus digital. Because creative people, they thrive off creativity. They thrive off the problem solving, the having the idea, then making the thousands of tiny decisions into making it and getting sparks of inspiration and developing it further and accidentally doing something, but wait, that actually looks good, and you play with that further, and then you've got this finished piece that is a culmination of your efforts. Yeah, I want to leave the video there. That final point I was making was like, I think that, you know, we could go all nihilistic and like AI is the end of art, but also I think that creative people are never going to go away. Artists, there's such a mass amount of artists who love what they do. I don't think they're going to take them, they're not going to just accept this like weird kind of corporate reality of streamlining artists out of the process. So I think we'll see a massive rise in artists supporting artists independently. We'll see a massive rise in artists creating real life tactile art, which will be showcased. I think, yeah, we'll see a lot of rise and a lot of shit as well, of course. But we'll, you know, a lot of shitty situations in companies and people scamming each other with AI and like just a lot of really yuck stuff happening. But I don't think it's all going to be negative throughout like the future. I think we're going to see not an uprising or rebellion, but just a cultivation of a large community of people supporting each other because they care about human art, if that makes sense.
And then Satori, at the end of one of his Q&A videos, when asked what his thoughts on AI are, is that he thinks that
the lower level designers who don't have any skills really are going to be completely wiped out. You know, there's people who design really terrible logos for $5. That kind of person isn't going to be required in the near future.
What the fuck? Who says shit like that? It's like on your channel with 1 million subs. Like, you're a teacher, dude. You're a teacher. There are people who go to you for advice and stuff who are learning how to design through the content you create. And you're saying that they'll be wiped out if they're not skilled enough. What?
Yeah, that's the end of this video. If you were wondering why I was just looking down at my screen the entire time, it's because it was a very long script. I didn't really want to just memorize it. I think people listen to these videos anyway. They wouldn't want to like just watch it. So I don't think it really makes a difference if I'm just reading the script. It also makes me sound more articulate and there's less cuts because it's like a long stream of thought if I'm just reading. And yeah, I think it's better also if I'm reading because it's easy to get your thoughts down on paper or like Google Doc a lot easier than like if you are going just off a stream of thought, because you kind of jump from thought to thought and you kind of like condense things in your mind versus when you write it out, you really go in depth. Yeah, that's why. So, I'm done.